Hi, Fernando.
Hi, how are
Welcome, Fernando.
Thanks for joining us.
you? More than welcome, guys. How are you?
Doing all right.
So, Ken, you there? Ken, you doing all right? Hey, thanks for joining us. Glad to have you.
Likewise. Being very quiet because someone's taking a nap here.
It's all right. Jansen,
Hello.
welcome.
How's it going?
Welcome.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, of course.
Keith? Keith there? Oh, gonna definitely let in Sean.
Let's hope.
Uh, so, people with strange names make me nervous. Let's see. I know Nicholas. I have to add Sean again. Hi. Welcome. Hi, William. Thanks for joining us.
You've made it to the party, Sean.
And will you make him a co-host?
My
Oh, okay.
nice 2010 Mac Pro with its 10.9.5 OS is hanging in.
Hanging
So
in.
I have to be on my phone so I can actually do things that are normal.
Welcome, gentlemen. So there's a person with a really strange name, MCCD Ord Brehu 11871, which sounds like if there was going to be a candidate for a Zoom bombing, that would be my pick right now.
Mine would be Adam Brass.
Yeah, no, he's already
That's a
here.
weird name. That's a weird name, yeah.
All right.
Well, we could go ahead and check
Hello and welcome, Ari. Kyle Schneider. All right. Kyle, welcome.
Hello.
Kaylee, welcome. All right, I'm going to let MCCD in. Somebody wants to keep an eye on the Adam. Keep your eye out for this one. Let's see what we got here. I think we've got a pretty good crowd. Hi, welcome.
We do.
Appreciate all of you guys showing up. Oh, Rick is coming. Good.
Awesome.
Rick, welcome. Tanner, hey. Good to see you.
Hi. Yeah, good to see you too.
Some new faces and some old faces. Rick, glad to have you.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for hosting, Dan.
My pleasure. People are coming in from all over the world. It's cool.
This is a good crowd for
Hi, Kay.
none of us being in the same room.
Yep.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So, well, I think I'm going to let Adam let you take over the adminning.
Sure.
So
No worries.
we can get started.
Cool.
It's so awesome that all of you guys have come and joined us. Sean, say hi to everybody so everybody knows who you are.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sean.
Awesome.
I just finished my office hours and I'm here now.
Awesome. And I'm going to put up a little graphic and we can start talking. Let's see. Guess I was doing it on here.
Dan, did you get rid of the pink font and go with the red font?
I used a lot of colors, I have to say.
Nice.
Here we go. Share. How's that? Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So, welcome to the Pro Tools Users Group. Today we're going to be talking about Pro Tools Remote in the time of COVID. We want to thank our friends at Parsons for sponsoring this and helping us out. So hats off to Rick and Adam who are with us today, but there are more people over there. If you haven't been there, they're the nicest people who sell audio in the world. So worth checking out if you.
Oh, thanks, Dan.
Oh, shucks. Yeah.
You guys care about audio as much as we do, and you're not, don't have a big sales agenda as much as a informative agenda, which is an unusual thing in this day and age. So you're appreciated.
Well, and thank you guys for doing this. It's really a timely bit of info to be getting out. And we've had a lot of inquiries about all these topics. So
Yeah.
The timing is perfect.
Awesome.
So the hosts today are me and Sean, and on we go. So today we're talking about basically how to handle having an ongoing recording, mixing career from home and overcoming some of the communication problems and some of the audio problems that many of us have had. I mean, I've got friends who've been removed from their equipment. I just got a note from John Weston. Adam, if you can send him a little note saying here's where to get on.
Okay.
But there are people I know who don't have equipment. There are people who have computers but really haven't used them before for this kind of direct communication. And certainly a lot of the methodologies that are available, like Google Hangouts and WebEx and other things, are really pretty bad audio-wise. So it makes our jobs almost impossible. So both Sean and I were kind of forced to go remote for teaching in March. And so we've gotten up to speed, and then we translated a lot of that knowledge to our work flow. So we thought, let's have a Pro Tools users group and actually talk about what we're doing. So here we are. This is kind of a general overview. There's a little thank you to you guys at Parsons. So Adam, Rick, and Steve helped pull this together. But let's see. So welcome everybody. I guess that one of the things I did want to say was a lot of people have had a hard time over the last few months for all kinds of reasons. So if anybody, is feeling down about what's going on in the world, I can tell you all my students are feeling that way. I've been in and out of feeling miserable. You're not alone. Reach out to one of us and talk to us, or it's been really important for me to reach out to friends and not be alone in the studio trying to make all this stuff happen. So if that's kind of lurking in your mind behind all this, don't hesitate to bring it up, because being ill-motivated in a time when you're isolated is definitely a part of the struggle. It's not just the technical stuff. Mm-hmm. We're going to focus on the technical stuff today, but I've known lots of people who've lost people, and I lost a friend a couple of weeks ago who's a musician, and it's just a really hard time. So I just didn't want to skid past that. Plus all of the protest stuff that's going on makes our world an entirely strange place to be living. And so for those of you who are doing music that supports that or getting out into the street, more power to you. I'm behind you. So I'm hoping our world changes for the better over the next few months too.
That's the hope.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a struggle, but yeah.
Yeah, but vote, everybody.
Yeah. I'm hoping all of this protest turns into foot traffic for voting.
Yes.
I'm hoping the activism turns there. But as I was making the joke about, the COVID silver lining, I am, a coffee nerd, right? And so going downstairs and making my own coffee 3 to 5 times a day is awesome. The coffee has not been bad and it's been cheap. So I've been saving money like crazy, not going to all those commercial places for coffee. And my wife, my studio is in my house. And so the foot traffic has lowered too. So not as many people are coming by, and my wife's like, "This is great." I'm like, all right. And then, and the commute is hilarious, kiss the kids. They're going to work in the living room. My wife's going to work in her bedroom. I'm going upstairs, and then we get together for lunch. So that part is easy and fun, but
Yeah. Also, for someone who loves going out to restaurants and misses going out to restaurants,
yeah,
I don't miss the bills at the end of restaurants, because
Correct.
that's like on a typical Friday night with my wife and I, I'm spending that in groceries for a week. And that's kind of amazing.
I'm sure we're all becoming better cooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
If not, what are you doing with your time?
Yeah. So we're going to have I think we're going to have a PTUG about mixing and food at some point.
Yeah.
We both feel pretty connected in the idea that making a good mix is very much connected to making a good meal. So we'll go there sometime. But to get back onto what we're doing today, this is the overview of our agenda for today. Zoom, monitoring or having your clients monitor your work in high quality while you're working with them so that they can actually make some good decisions. And, I have to say that when I started doing this and they were listening to really mediocre, squished, phasey, miserable audio, it took all the fun out of listening to music, and certainly they couldn't make any judgments about my work because they weren't hearing my work. They were hearing some horrible bastardization of it.
Yeah.
So,
not to mention sometimes just being summed down to mono.
Yeah. Right. And this, I've always had a big bun in the oven about what are my clients listening to when they take the mixes home. What kind of headphones are they using? What kind of speakers have they set up their speakers right? All that kind of stuff, which we talked about actually our last meeting about how to set up a monitoring environment. But this made it absolutely so that they were just hearing horrible things from the get-go. So Sean and I were both really motivated to figure out how do we get it so that people are hearing stuff decently. So we're going to show you 2 different pieces of software beyond Zoom. First, we're going to give you some kind of Zoom tips. Then we're going to show you both Listen To and Source Live, which I've been using Audio Mover's Source Listen To, and Sean's been using Source Live. I have used Source.
My computer's older, everybody, so I can't use Listen To. My OS is too old.
Yeah, but I have been, and it's been fun. And I'll show you how we set it up. We'll go through kind of how to do it, and we'll actually share a session. Both of us will share a session with you with the different tools, and you'll see how easy it is to set up and what it sounds like. We'll talk a little bit about sharing visuals or sharing files, and then also talking to clients about trying to get their work done at home. I had a session this morning with the client whose song I'm going to play later, and he's missing a couple of vocals, and so figuring out what we had to do for him so he could do some tracking at home and have it be legit. And but there are a few different ways we can handle that, so we'll get to that too. And then if we have time, we'll have some new features in Pro Tools 2020. There's one specific fun one that I'm loving, and I'm happy to demonstrate it. I'm running 2020.3 on my main rig, and it's been rock solid and lovely. So we'll go there. All right. So
what system are you running, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm running Mojave. But I don't mind at all. Oh, so I was going to say, in general on Zoom, the thing that works really, really well is if everybody mutes themselves all the time, just leaves it muted. The cool thing that they've done is if you hit the space bar, it unmutes you. So you can treat it like a CB and just hit the space bar when you want to talk, and then it keeps it quieter for everybody else the rest of the time. Oh, and I'll say one other thing. I went to AES, the Vienna virtual thing last week, and I was on a mixed panel, and we got Zoom bombed. So I don't know if it's going to happen today, but it was pretty profound. We had about 25 students, and then suddenly we had about 5 mysterious entities throwing profanity and pornography, and we had to figure out who they were and mute them and send them back to the waiting room. So if it happens, be patient. Sean and I and Adam will go immediately to trying to figure out who they are. So, but all right. So next, here we are. Zoom. Pretty awesome. They've kind of taken over the world so quickly. But it's been definitely been a godsend for my classes. But we're going to go through a number of pieces of it. Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys are currently using Zoom as your current methodology of primary communication with people about music and video and whatnot? Almost anybody using something else they want to brag about that they're liking?
I don't like any of them, actually.
Hey, Reggie.
Oh, this is Andrew.
All right. So, yeah, I mean,
not that I'm crazy about it, but Microsoft Partners seems to be some of my corporate clients. That's what they prefer, just because Zoom does get bombed and it can't be confidential.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think you can be bombed if you have a waiting room, from what I understand. If anybody knows.
I don't know what we were doing Friday night, but my wife and I have been hosting these things every Friday night for about 20 or 30 people. Depending on what it is, we did a mystery murder theater, and there's all these online things you can do. We did Cards Against Humanity Friday night, and we got bombed Friday night, so we had to quit the game and start over.
Were you using a waiting room?
I don't remember because my wife set it up.
Okay.
I don't know, but if that's the trick, now I know. Thank you.
Yeah, as far as I know, that so far that's been the thing that has helped. All right. Back to this. Let's see. All right. So I think they're moving along faster than I wanted. Okay. So give me that. Sorry, I went back a page or two. Come on. Okay, so Sean.
Yes, sir.
You want to address some of these things?
Yeah, I can address some of these things. So this has kind of been the first issue that I've run into from a class standpoint, because Berklee had gotten converted to distance learning right at spring break, and right after spring break was midterms. And for midterms, for most of my classes, because I was teaching 5 separate classes that involved having a midterm mix, the first issue I ran into was having a compressed mono audio file being played back to me from students. And I was like, well, there has to be a better way than this. So what I found was most of the students, look at you not sharing. That's great.
Yeah. I'm going back to a single view instead of.
So, yeah. So what I found is, just going to, and I'll share just my desktop here. Oh, hey, I can't share. I'm not a co-host. But if you go to your system preferences, you'll notice that there's an option to enable stereo
Do you want
with
to
system
share?
preferences.
I'll make you. Did you
You're
already
gonna
make
make me a co-host?
I couldn't find where to do that on my end, guys. That's
I
fine.
can do it. I can do
Okay,
it.
thanks.
That's all right. You guys don't care about me. It's fine.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Not a good Zoom co-pilot
Here
here.
you go.
But I'll watch for the bombers.
You're co-hosting.
Nice.
Rick, I'll make you one too, just in case.
Still can't share my screen.
You are. I did make you a co-host.
Host has disabled attendee screen sharing.
Well, let me just check my share screen. There you go.
Good. That's gonna make me a little bit easier to work with here. So, as you'll all see here, if you go to Zoom, this is your Zoom preferences, and the first thing that pops up is audio. And I told students to check the enable stereo box, and some of them did not have the enable stereo box checked. And then I realized I had to go to something, and it's not under advanced, it's under general with view more settings, which then takes me to a web page. I know it's nice and confusing, isn't it? Hopefully
Yes.
I can.
Part
log
of
in.
the understanding there's two different preference pages. There's the one that's online and there's one in the app. And you have to do the one online first to enable certain things to let the app see them.
Correct. And in the app, you can go to In Meeting Advanced, and down here, you can scroll down and you'll notice allow users to select stereo in their audio client settings. And that is really helpful. I had not had that checked. That was on me when I first started this. So at that point, they were able to go back to their Zoom settings and go to their preferences, and then the enable stereo option was selected. So that is a first thing. Another thing that I noticed that I think is in this version of Zoom, if you go to your preferences and go to recording, and I was doing this because I was having a conversation with a student, and they wanted to have the audio separated. You can actually record a separate audio file for each participant. So that can be helpful for a couple of things. You know, like I had a podcast conversation yesterday, and this was set so that we had a separate, between the 3 people on the podcast, or 4 people on the podcast, we had a separate audio file for each of them. That can be helpful if you're actually going to save the audio and go back and do any editing to it, or if you have some extraneous noise from one guest or one attendee and not from the others, you're actually able to separate those. So from there, then you can actually get a solid stream from Zoom and select in your Pro Tools preferences. I don't know if I can do it because I've got HDX selected here. And let me see if, yeah, I don't have Zoom audio as an option for me because it's an HDX rig, so it's kind of tied to the HDX rig. But Dan, I know if you're on a laptop.
So you want to see the setting in the engine?
Yeah, it's usually the last thing in your options in the playback engine.
I actually have a screenshot of it in Keynote.
Okay.
Show you. So let me take over for a sec here. And this. Can you guys see that? So this is what's going to show up in the playback engine. And this was a kind of minimalist approach for having using the Pro Tools aggregate to have both Zoom and a separate audio device. So I would have the two. But one of the annoying things about Zoom is that it only likes 48K. So if you've got a session at another sample rate, you can get locked out or actually have the pitch change. And I've had students have that. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. So if you want to continue with your Do you want me to show my list again, or do you want to keep?
I want to show your list again because I covered the basics of starting with Zoom and getting stereo to play through, and we can kind of take it from there.
Great. So I'm going to go back into. So moving around in Zoom during class time and during these lectures, there's definitely some awkwardness going back and forth between different tools. Which, as you can tell, Keynote doesn't like that I'm using my keys for other things and keeps changing pages on us. But here's this primary list. So did you cover everything on here?
I did not cover the just share audio part, but I can do that. I don't know if we can do that and share the screen at the same time.
No, no, I don't think we can. But so when you first sign on to share a screen, you're given these choices of share computer sound, and then you go to your DAW and you change the engine. But if you're in a place where you have limited bandwidth and you just want to share the audio, you can just say just share audio. And actually, I'm doing just the opposite of that on my other screen, which I'm going to show you when I show my Pro Tools rig. It's not sharing audio; it's just sharing video.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of go in either way to save bandwidth and figure out how to make it work. The thing is that, even if you get all of these features done in Zoom, you still have a little bit of idiosyncrasy based on bandwidth of the people who are listening. Wi-Fi can definitely compromise some of these settings. If you don't get, there's a little chime in thing for turn on original sound. That also helps not change your voice or your music content into kind of a milky, reduced, gated thing. And that's really horrible for music. So turning those settings on is crucial, and then remembering to actually turn on original sound so you're not doing this. And basically what happens, we've done some songwriter nights where people are sharing and playing music and singing into a microphone. And even though their interface and their mic is fine, if they forget to initiate original sound, then what happens is all the smaller, quieter events musically become gated, and you end up with like voice with drips and drabs of the accompaniment. It's like a really bad MP3. So all of that turned me off to using Zoom totally professionally. And even in class, I would up the ante and listen to, instead of doing Zoom when it came to listening to people's mixes. I didn't have any patience for either trying to troubleshoot 15 people, which they would change their settings by the end of the next week, and I'd have to re-troubleshoot them, which just ate up too much class time. With just sharing a link through one of these two programs that we're going to demonstrate, you get high quality sound, and you as the presenter have more control over what they're hearing, which is rather crucial.
Yeah, high quality sound's a relative term here, but it's higher quality than what you're normally getting. Now, Dan, I have one more question as far as Zoom goes. Do you have to have your buffer size to a certain level?
You mean in Pro Tools you're talking about?
Yeah.
My buffer size is always dependent on whether I'm getting errors, and I make it bigger if I do, and make it smaller if I'm getting a delay. So
I've noticed that with all these streaming services, it seems to be wonky if you go below 256.
Yeah.
Like if you try and run at 128 or something, if you're trying to get, less latency for a performer, it's almost impossible to get without some kind of dropout or weirdness going on.
I'm going to get one physical object that has absolutely made things better for me in all these ways.
Okay. In the meantime, he's sharing his screen, so we can't really change much. So I hope everyone's doing okay.
No, I wanted to address what you were saying about the buffer size, because it's just using more computer juice, so you have more applications open. So that's probably why you can't run your machine down low. I would
Yeah,
assume anyway.
that was my guess too. Yeah,
Yeah.
Because you're basically running this as, a separate application that's running your output for a different application.
Right.
So I would imagine that 256 samples is about as low as you can go without running into any kind of issue with those two things communicating.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys didn't have as many native plugins, you'd probably have more. You could probably run it lower. But
I mean, I ran into an issue with no plugins running at all.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, just running at 128. But that was with Source Live, which is a pretty hefty program anyway. So
native Pro Tools actually lets you go to smaller buffer sizes than HDX does. I've never been able to go lower than 128 on an HDX rig.
Oh, really? I've got 64 as an option.
Cool. I know it's an option, but it never works.
It's probably just your
I've never even tried it. I'm terrified to.
Yeah. So I'm going to show this amazing object. This is an Ethernet cable. All right. They are, in terms of like bang for the buck, easiest thing to buy cheaply, and I'll mono price has like for $10 is a 50 foot cable. In terms of connecting this to your router modem to your computer directly, it's often 10 times faster. Almost always 5 times faster, but as many as 10 times faster. And that means a lot of the issues that you would have with throughput, video-wise or audio-wise, magically disappear. And it's just way, way better. And I know that all my students are like, wires? I have to use a wire? That's so old. And I'm like, it's copper. It's good. Going through copper is fast. So, I have to say that, there are many teachers who I have bought 50 or 75 or 100 foot Ethernet cables for to run down to their living room or to their basement, and suddenly Zoom was fine.
Yeah.
So, beyond anything, that is your simplest, easy fix. All right, so let's kind of wrap up our Zoom thoughts. So, have you guys all used the chat window? So for sharing links, which is what we're going to do in a second, it's awesome. For sharing big files, not so much. It rejects many types of files in Zoom, and just size will freak it out. So we'll talk about sharing files in other ways, but just sharing a piece of audio doesn't work. I have to play something for people or then give them something somewhere else. So yeah, and then Zoom bombing is the other problem with Zoom. But all right. Any other questions about Zoom? Did everyone get a screenshot of the of this stuff?
Well, we're recording this, right, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. The other thing I'm not seeing is this. See this book? Did everybody see the book?
Oh, nice.
All right. That is without a doubt the deepest, most wonderful Zoom book. It specializes chapters on each DAW, shows you alternate, more advanced, multiple input, multiple interface options, shows you about, using loopback, shows you more advanced, crazier custom processes. If you want to go that deep, that's been the only book or resource that I've seen that actually goes step by step and shows you pictures of every connection and every setting and shows you every page and where to find everything. It's really, really deep and incredibly nerdy. I'm very appreciative of the guy who made it. So my hat's off to Ed. So did everybody get that? It's just called.
I thought you were out. I thought you were going to grab it. I didn't know you wanted to grab it too. I thought.
So Adam, you can mute whoever that is if you can figure out who that is. All right. So moving on. Any other questions about Zoom before we move forward? All right. Cool. All right. So there's that playback engine. All right. So monitoring with higher quality.
Do you want to start, or you want me to start?
I don't care.
I should probably start because Audio Movers is actually a better option for a lot of people.
Okay.
So I'll start them with the early one. Source Live is the first one that I really knew about. So stop your screen share, please, and I will jump on. So we're going to take a look here. And yeah, let's do this. And I'm going to have to bounce around my shares a little bit. So I've got a session open, and let's say you're doing a mix for a client and you cannot be in the same room with them, which, you know, happens more than just during social distancing time. Sometimes they're out of state, sometimes they're out of country, and you have an option to play them their mix rather than wait for feedback. You know, they want to hear something immediately as soon as you have it ready. Well, there are a couple of options, and the one that I'm going to talk about is from Source Elements. It's called Source Live. They also have one that works for video with this too, but I'm going to stick with the audio one. And it's just a plugin that goes on your master fader, and you just click on this through button, which allows the audio to pass through Source Live. And then I'm going to just pull this screen up for a second so that you can see. Can everyone see this Source Live app? Probably not, I'm guessing. Maybe.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, I can see
There
it.
it is. There we go. So this thing right here, everyone sees it? So I'm going to make sure that I don't have any added listeners. I'm going to link my audio to it. We're going to stream at 320 kilobits per second, which is the fastest that allows. My sample rate for the session's 48. And don't have any listeners yet, but I'm about to add all of you and test my ports. Everything's running fine. So I've got a web link that I am going to share in the chat right now.
Sean, I think we see the plugin window, but I don't see the app window for Source Live.
You don't see the Source Live app? Okay.
No, we see the plugin window. I see the plugin window, but not the app itself.
How's that?
Yeah, we see the app.
Cool, perfect. So let me get this out of the way here. Thanks, John. So the first thing I always do is go to audio and make sure my audio is linked. Check my quality level, my sample rate. We're in stereo. Sometimes it automatically opens up with the limit number of listeners. So I'm obviously not going to do that for all of you. And I'm going to copy this web link. For some reason, I can't send this to everybody. So Dan, I'm going to send it to you and you can add it to the chat. So that sends a web link and you can click on it. One of the cool things about this is Source Elements has an app and you can stream from a phone or an iPad or a tablet or however you might want to. So I'm going to change my share back to this audio, my Pro Tools window. And once I click start, we should be able to hit play. Everybody get that?
I had an expired certificate issue, but I
You had an expired certificate.
Yeah,
That's not fun. Well, that should work. Let's see what's going on here.
Yeah, I heard nothing.
Sounded great. This one sounds a lot more country than the last one you played for me.
That's all right. Let's try this again.
I was expecting the kind of disco-y one that you were playing last night.
Let's try this again. I'm gonna reshare this.
My experience with being on the receiving end of Source Live is that when I bring up the interface, sometimes it doesn't play right away, but if I hit the pause button and then play again, then it comes up. some kind of buffering thing. I don't know.
Yeah, there usually is a buffering thing, and it's usually, I get it on the phone too, because a lot of times I'll, if I have an assistant here, I'll have him hit play and just leave the room and listen on my phone and just stream at 320. It's a really good phone check. But the thing that I've used it a lot for is, we all know, like, I'm sure you all do the same. You all do a car check or a phone check or a home stereo check or whatever it might be. So do your clients. And if they're listening through stuff, I've got a session tomorrow with a writer in Nashville, and the artist is in Montreal. And when I finish the thing, or I get close enough to finishing, I'm going to send a message to both of them. They're going to pull the app up on their phone, listen wherever they're at, their studio or their car, and make comments right away. So, which will cut down on revision times, and it'll cut down on, conversation that would be happening through email. We can actually have, like, on the spot. So we're just gonna FaceTime together, and we're gonna, have this playing through either their app or through their computer, and we'll be finished with a mix, which is pretty great because the deadline for it is Thursday. So I have to have it finished tomorrow.
I hadn't thought about this before, but it actually makes it easier to mix analog. Because one of the problems with mixing analog is that if you couldn't get feedback from somebody, you had to leave your board the way it was.
Yeah.
And you were stuck until they signed off on something. But if you're mixing analog now and you can reach anybody anywhere and they can put on their headphones from their iPhone and go yes or no, then it kind of facilitates that. That's kind of cute.
Well,
so you've got
well,
modern
well, let's be
technology
honest.
helping old technology.
Let's be honest, they're going to come back with notes anyway. But this is at least a way to stem those initial things, and especially if you're working with someone and just trying to make sure that the direction is right, and trying to make sure that the initial pass is sitting where they want it to sit, and then dealing with some details on the fly. You can do it right there with Source Live, and it's pretty great.
No,
and I know that,
being able to fix something immediately for someone while they're listening is brilliant.
Yeah. And just being able to text them and tell them to open an app and click on a link and then have it play, albeit 4 seconds later than when you hit play, it still works for where their situation is.
Yeah.
John, did you have a question?
Transport? Yeah, can you run transport again?
Yeah.
Are you still sending? Yeah, because I got the phone app, and I just want to see if
cool.
it's working.
Cool. Let me mute my vocal audio.
Your username is Shawnee Mac 37, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so you can hear it's like 3 or 4 bars behind. At I say 3 or 4 bars behind at like 100 BPM. So it's, when you're dealing with someone at distance, that's not really an issue at all. But this has been kind of invaluable in these times when I have clients that are even local that can't come in to listen to things. They can actually just stream right on the spot.
Yeah, I would say the kind of stupid, most clumsy part about it is that you have to make sure that if you're Zooming at the same time, you're not listening to both presentations. So
Yeah.
I've gotten used to, when I Zoom with clients, when I'm doing audio movers, which I'm sure is the same for Source Live, is basically leaving myself in mute and then only talking when I hit the space bar.
I do the same thing. Exact same thing.
We actually have some hand signals too. So like I was comping vocals this morning, and I basically said, if you like something, give me one of these. If I say something that you like, say, this. So we were coming up with some physical gestures that just made things even easier, and we didn't have to actually talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've used Source Live for a lot of projects in various sample rates and whatnot, but we tend to use like either the chat window or someone else is on Skype, and just handles messages from the composer or client and relays it back to the producer or engineer.
John, I guess this is a question for both of you guys. Do you guys use it in both directions?
I do not use it in
I
both
don't.
directions. I've used Source Live, but the thing is, we started running into some issues with clients being able to access the Source Live feed. So my main client that we did Source Live with switched to running stuff on YouTube streams, and now I've got a hardware streamer. So I think moving forward, I'm just going to be using that, in lieu of Source Live.
Yeah, I did one session with Source Live here to the Dominican Republic with Juan Luis Guerra, who wanted to have it run both ways, and it was a beast. It was really hard. I think part of it was that his Wi-Fi in his studio is pretty sketchy, so that meant his transmission to me was a bear. So we ended up being on cell phones and then transmitting back at a higher quality.
Hmm. Yeah, it is. I mean, compared to what Dan's going to show on Listen To, it is a bit kludgy to set up at first, especially if you're not good at creating your own internet ports, because you've got to set up dedicated ports for it, and that can become an issue. But I've had this for a while, and the main reason I still have it is because it still works with my OS. I haven't bumped my OS yet. And Listen To, I think, starts at Yosemite. Is that right? I think it starts there.
Yeah, or maybe High Sierra. I'm not sure, but I know I got it for Mojave, and they were actually very kind and gave an educational discount for Berklee folks. Mm-hmm. So I mean, even at full price, I think it's $99 for Audio Movers.
Well, and it's also, if you're going to rent it, it's like $2 or $4 a week.
Oh, how much is Source Live? What's the price point there?
Well, when I bought it, it was $400, and that was 4 years ago.
And that's without the video option. With the video option, it's like $1,000.
Yeah, it's really pricey. So, I still have it, and I'll have it until I get to the point where I finally upgrade my computer. But Zach's, who works with me here, has been running Listen To for, I think, 3 months, and hasn't even come close to spending $100 on it. He just kind of rents it when he needs it. So you've got options either way, but even spending $99 full price on it doesn't seem that extravagant.
And Sean, one thing I just thought of is, I mean, you could have a separate laptop running a more modern OS and just send a feed from your rig to that laptop running Listen To, and then, it wouldn't be on the older system, because I got it, I'm on Mountain Lion 2 at the moment. So,
yeah. And that's something that I have thought of, but, up until now, haven't really had the necessity for it. This is a little bit clunky doing it where I've got one screen set up for chat and the other one set up for this, but I would have to have a screen set up for chat anyway to send to people, if we were going to do video chat. So it's still working fine, and it's not broken. So
yep.
I'm sticking with it. But for most people, most of you, I believe, are on OS 10, 11 and up. I'm going to stop my share so Dan can show a more modern version. There we go.
Thanks for the Source Live. All right, so let's see. Back to sharing. Okay, I'm going to go right to my session, I think.
Cool.
All right. So, you guys can hear and see me okay? You see my Pro Tools session?
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right, so this is a record I've been working on for a while. Some of you have heard some previous tracks from it. It's this Chilean rock singer-songwriter named Nicholas Emden. And so all of it's recorded at my house. So, you know, it kind of proves you know, if you set up your home studio right, you can get stuff done. Luckily, I've been, you know, remoted in my house where I have my studio, so I'm not too put out. So in this case, it's like he was saying. So it's your basic session. You know, full on drum kit, full rock guitars, bass, keyboards, organ, a bunch of vocals, acoustic guitars, and I'm going to just jump onto this scenario with Listen To. So at the end of my mix bus, I have the Listen To plugin. You guys see this? And it's just like any other plugin. I mean, if I pulled it up on another track, you know, if I go to native and I go to audio movers, it shows up as either the send or the receive. So if I want to get stuff from somebody else, I can go to the receive version, but I don't use that. I pretty much use just Listen To stereo. All right, and then what it brings up is this, and I'm actually going to turn it off and turn it back on so you can see how I set it up. So,
Hey, Dan.
Yep.
I know you're probably going to get to this later, but what's the highest that it streams at? What's the highest sample rate?
It's going to. I'll show you that.
Cool.
So I'm going to instantiate it. I think you could do 32-bit float PCM. So, but I'm going to go down here to audio movers. I'm going to instantiate it. And this is what comes up. So I have an account. I'm signed in. If I log in, it goes, hey, yeah, you're a member. And then I name the song. In this case, I think it's Manos Rotas. Broken Hands, for those of you who don't speak any Spanish. And then I copy the link. Now, I could go in here and I can change the quality. So I can go up to PCM 16-bit, like CD quality, which is what I was going to share with you guys, but I think I can actually go higher. I haven't pushed the boundaries on this. The session's at 24-bit, so maybe it even is less work for it to do 24-bit. I'll try it. We'll see what happens. This is the delay between when I play it and when you hear it. It obviously works the computer harder the quicker that is. So I tend to not really make it too short, but I've this morning, just to test it out with one person listening, I did go to 0.2 seconds and it was fine.
Wow.
With this many people, I don't think I'm going to do that. Also, it shows client limit and it defaults to 40, and I think that covers us. So I copy the link, I start transmission, I'm going to go to Zoom, and I'm going to go to the chat window. If I can get there without leaving, I think I can, chat. And I'm going to share this with everybody, right? Can I do everyone? Great. So here is the link. Now, I know that it's happier in Chrome than it is in Safari. There's a setting you have to do in Safari that enables instantaneous play, which is not that big a deal if somebody really wants to do Safari, but Chrome has been kind of a no-brainer. So I would recommend that. Is everybody got the link? Give me one of these if you got the link. Cool. All right. So I'm going to, so I'm not sharing the audio via Zoom. The only audio you're getting is my voice. And I'm actually going to mute myself when I play it so you don't get the stuff from my speakers and the stuff from audio. Okay. So did everybody hear that? Okay.
Amazing.
And was
Yeah.
was it sounding?
Seemed to stream fine at 24-bit.
Yeah, I mean, I've never actually streamed at that high resolution, and I haven't needed to because, doing ones lowers has been fine for making mixed decisions. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys noticed a cute thing I did. See the drums here? Does everybody see that? See the drum track? The drum folder? This is the new feature in 2020.3. Watch what happens when I click on the folder. All my drum tracks come back. So they just got folded into this lovely thing. So, and with me and my nerdy drumming, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, I think. Yeah. 19 tracks, and they go away. They go into a folder. So, and there's two different types of folders. So that's just the make them disappear and help me organize. So, you've got 16 background vocals in one folder. Things like that are really extremely helpful. But then there is an alternate folder, which is actually a summing folder. And so anything you do to the folder is like a subgroup. So you can process stuff, you can, treat it as it's a submix. So it's yet another organizational tool, but then it becomes also a mixing tool. But real easy to use. You just pick things. If you pick a few things, you can even have folders inside folders. If I pick these and then control click on them or right click on them, there's now a new thing called move to, and you can see make a new folder, and you can name the folder, and it's very easy and very helpful. So for nerds like us who have way too many tracks in our sessions, it's a great tool. All right, so anything about using this? So I mean, I've been doing this with clients and students, and it's really easy to set up. You just saw me plug it into a session. There's nothing about, and it even gives you feedback as to whether you're still transmitting or not. And copying and pasting the link in Zoom has been great. For some of my clients, I've also been using Slack, which is another kind of business sharing open platform where you can share documents and content, and but it's still not something that I would use for sharing mixes for people who you have to leave stuff for. But it's a great,
but it's great for like in-team communication.
Yeah, this is what it looks like. And you can see that, different people I've been on today have, I've given them different things. Some people I'm giving them the Zoom meeting.
Dan, all we can see is your Pro Tools session.
Oh, so I'm starting with the wrong screen. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah, thank you though. Part of the charm. All right, so where to go? There we go. That's the interface. So these are all different people that I'm sharing with down at the bottom. And, I'll share a Zoom meeting, or I'll share a mix, or I'll share, someone gave me vocal tracks they had just done. But I'm still using Dropbox, and I'm also using Google Drive for sharing. How many of you guys are using Google Drive? Is that a common thing? Are you using, can you guys see, I'm gonna go to my other screen here. Actually, no, I'll stay on the screen. Are you using it this way, where you've got this little icon as a hard drive showing up? You guys seeing the blue thing on my top screen there? Mm-hmm. All right. Totally recommend spending the 5 minutes it takes to download what Google calls their streaming drive system. It basically means that you have a thing that looks like a hard drive, behaves like a hard drive, and you can drag stuff to it and drag stuff off of it. And right now, and for all my classes, when I was recording them to my Google Drive that Berklee owns, so I didn't have to take up all the content on my computer. I've been with my personal one, I've been just making folders that I'm sharing with certain clients. They put stuff in it for me. I put stuff in it for them. And it can be audio. It can be stuff for the album cover. It can be flyers, whatever. It's just fast and it's vast. It's huge. And this way of doing it, as opposed to going through their menu system, is so much faster and easier. So I highly recommend you trying that. All right, so let me go back. So any other questions about Audio Mover specifically, about Listen To?
I was curious, Dan, like the workflow between, send and the receive, like what kind of, are you doing single mono files back, like from the artist to the producer, or are they just listening to a stereo? Like what do you?
I mean, for the most part, what's happening is I'm scheduling sessions like I would normally do. They are Zooming in with me. We're catching up for 5 minutes, and then I give them a link from the song I'm working on. They're listening to me mix. And I'll turn and say, hey, got any opinions what we should do with the triangle? Because I think, the triangle player is just whack, and we need a new triangle player.
Right. So more of a previewing, client in the room, sitting on the couch atmosphere.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And quite frankly, I didn't get in this to do stuff by myself for 8 or 10 hours, at a time. I mean, I know mix engineers who totally get off on that and are happy to be alone and just not deal with clients, but I like people. I like their energy. I want to please them. I want my mixes to make them happy. That's part of the fun. So, so this is opening me back up, instead of making me feel like I'm home alone and I'm working on it and I don't know if I'm going the right direction or, I mean, it's just, I don't want to work in a vacuum.
In quarantine.
Right. And it's helped me feel better about making music again. Yeah. Anything else about this tool and specifically before I shut the Pro Tools thing down? Any
I don't
questions
think so.
Or what about folders? Does everybody see the useful aspect of it? It's actually something that people have been asking Avid to do for like 6 years. They finally.
Well, it's kind of something that always happens where, just like in the past with Avid, every time another application has done something, they end up adding it. And then everyone gets like, oh, finally we have this thing that, this DAW that no one uses anymore has had for 10 years.
Right. And it's a very obvious feature.
Yeah.
And the bigger our sessions get, the more obvious a feature it is. When things start to become unwieldy. But that and VCAs are just a godsend in terms of complicated sessions. So I am using. You guys can see. You can't see it when I'm sharing, but let me see. I'm going to unshare. So I am using a controller. DS3, so I can put my VCAs on it and my subgroups on it and simplify my world. So somebody gives me lots of stuff to mix in a short period of time. If I don't have controls over like the 8 main elements or 10 main elements, it's really hard to, get into everything with 150 tracks. But if I've got drums, guitars, vocals, effects, percussion, then mixing intelligently becomes so much easier. So the folders is just another additional way of making things a little more tolerable and easy. Besides that, there's not, there's not too many other great features that they've added. There's some new key commands, which are awesome, but nothing groundbreaking. So let me see. I'm gonna want to go back to our to this guy here, and I want to share that with you guys. There we go. Okay. So what about visuals? So I started off doing Zoom with Listen to and Audio Movers, and I realized that some clients really didn't care to look at Pro Tools, and it actually confused them. There's a lot going on the screen. They don't need to see everything I'm doing. In fact, it's hard enough to create an atmosphere where your client is focused on the music and not anything else. That the visuals are really distracting. And I talk about that with my new audio students who are so affected by GUIs and graphic user interfaces and visuals on the screen, and they're forgetting to just listen. So and there are definitely times when I'm like feigning that I can't give them a visual because I'd rather them listen.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing basically an oral medium, AUR. So the visuals can be distracting, but I have, when necessary, used Zoom, FaceTime, Skype, Google Hangouts. But if I'm not putting my audio through there and I'm using audio movers, life is grand, But then as I said, it's not necessary,
Yeah.
necessarily. So I would say that's my thought about that. In terms of social distancing jobs going on right now, I can't tell you how many of my students are cleaning up YouTube choirs. It's, everybody wants to do the cute thing where there's like 1 million people singing from their homes. And the audio for those things are horrible. So if you want to find some gigs right now, look for all your friends who are trying to make these group projects, because the audio is crazy bad and they need somebody to pull out all the plosive noises and all the background noises and to even out the volumes of vocals sung at various distances from microphones and changing, and they're dancing. I remember I went on a mobile gig to Senegal to record this really great vocal group, and they always danced when they sang, but people hadn't put really nice microphones in front of them, and they didn't know that really moving and dancing while they were singing was compromising the sound of their record. And I had to really kind of get angry and say, look, don't move. And so all the people who are doing these live action shots in their kitchen with too much reverb and too many reflections and using their laptop microphones, and it's just like a cornucopia of problems that RX is like the best thing to fix stuff with. But I have other clients who want to get work done. They want to record at home, and they're asking me like, what, is it okay? And I'm like, sure. I mean, we've got to get some stuff done. The question is more like how. So what I've been doing with some of my clients, and I would recommend probably some of you who are doing this, I do have a session coming up where somebody's going to come to my front porch and be on my front porch with a keyboard that I'm going to leave out for them with headphones. And it's going to please my wife to no end that they're not coming into the house, but they're going to be recording with me. So that's going to work out okay. But I'm starting to rent little recording packages to some of my clients who want to have a decent microphone or a decent preamp. So, you have to talk to them about this kind of sequence of stuff that they really need if they want to do it and be able to send me tracks that sound great. So I've been doing this. Plus, I've been building my list of players who, do one instrument really well at their place. And so I haven't done it with Sean yet, but I know he's a great bass player, and I'm a drummer, and we both have those set up. And I'm pretty sure that this may be the time when we collaborate on something remotely. I've been experimenting with some of the programs that try to make you play at the same time. None of them seem to work right yet, but I'll keep you posted on that. There's a bunch more that I'm going to test out with some different people. One of the ones I'm looking forward to try, which has gotten mixed feedback, is Jam Kazam. Anybody tried that yet?
Heard of it, haven't tried it yet.
Cool.
There are a couple others that I've heard of, like Session Wire. I don't know if anyone's tried Session Wire yet. But that's one that someone just told me about recently.
Cool.
That they've had, I guess, success with.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, with the client thing and the gear, the closer you are with the client, the more you trust them, the easier it is to hand them something that, you love and you don't want hurt. But I'm not doing it with like first-time clients. I'm doing it with people who I've worked with for years.
Yeah.
Okay. So did I remember to show you folders? I did. That's.
I sent an attachment to you too, Dan, for what we're going to talk about pretty soon.
You did.
Mm-hmm. And I was hoping you would share it with everybody.
Okay. You sent it to me how?
Through the chat.
Okay, great. Oh, right. Great.
Yeah. So I'll do a quick little share here.
I will literally share. I'll share it with everybody.
That's cool. I'm going to do a share anyway and just kind of show everyone. The P&E wing of the Recording Academy just put out this list of about 20 considerations for reopening studios. Some of the things are things that you would expect, like make sure that the rooms are clean, observe social distancing, consider requiring individuals who work at the studio to wear face coverings while inside the facility, and use gloves when opening doors and everything. Have vocals or any instruments that can't be performed with face coverings to take place in isolation. Consider limiting studio access to essential personnel, or at least limit the number of visitors. Consider having clients and engineers sign in electronically each day. I'm not going to go that far with quite things, but I am going to have a series of protocols that I'm going to have set up and send to clients. If your building has elevators, limit the number of people who are allowed in the elevator at once. Pretty obvious. Consider disinfecting footwear or providing over-the-shoe booties. The facility's engineer should wear facial coverings at all times and gloves whenever they need to enter a performance space. Routinely clean and disinfect all frequently touched surfaces, such as workstations, countertops, handrails, etc. And there are some guides in here that are linked. Microphone should.
You were going to get a blue light?
Well, I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
Microphones should be monitored and cleaned before and after all sessions. Consider requesting that musicians and vocalists bring their own personal pop filters and sanitize them. Provide tissues, paper towels, no-touch trash cans, and hand sanitizer. Provide visible hand sanitizer in various parts of the studio. If possible, request that musicians and vocalists bring their own personal headphones, which I've started doing for people who are coming in. I'm in a pretty lucky position of having a studio where you can enter the live room without entering the control room, which is helpful. So I've been leaving doors to the control room and lounge open so that when people come in, they can come in without having to enter the control room. Mostly I've just recorded a drummer recently. So it's been a drummer coming in and maybe one client sitting on a couch about 10 feet behind me. And anyone in the room is wearing a face covering. So make sure your HVAC is clean. If possible, if there's more than one session happening at one time, consider separate entrances. Consider no food or drink to be served in the studio and no runners for anything available until further notice. Ask clients to bring their own coffee, water, and refill the bottles at the studio if possible. At some studios, it's already been standard practice to clean and sanitize microphones and other equipment with high-powered UV light after each use. Others have UV filters on air conditioning. To date, UV light has not been proven to specifically kill. However, it's been used in some hospitals in general disinfecting. A lot of, like, I don't know if anyone's seen the Blackbird videos, but Blackbird has got UV, like big powered UV lights in every room at Blackbird. So it's not been proven to kill COVID, but it's been proven to severely diminish other viruses similar to COVID-19. So, and the wands are not that expensive. I've seen some for under $100. So I bought one. Why not? Can't hurt. Just don't sit under it for 3 or 4 hours. It'll be fine.
Do they work with your blue light posters afterwards?
Well, once I hang up some blue light posters and get a couple of lava lamps and maybe add some shag carpeting, it'll be a whole different mood in here. So, I mean, in general, at my place, there are 2 people that work here, and there have been no more than 3 people in the entire, on the entire floor at any given time. So distancing has been observed, and we've got a lot of wipes and a lot of disinfectant around the studio. So we disinfect every door handle and disinfect every instrument. We've got like 4 or 5 pop filters here, and we clean them every day, but we also make sure to rotate them so that none are being used on consecutive sessions. And we really haven't had that many vocal sessions, so it really hasn't been that much of an issue. I think the most we've had singers in has been once a week or once every other week. So
Replacing the stockings on your pop filters, if
Yep.
that type, is really very easy and pretty cheap. So
that's true too.
I've been teaching all of my home-bodied students to make their own pop filters at home. So that's easy and cheap.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than buying them at Guitar Center. So
and from what I've seen, I mean, like, it seems like new information on the virus is changing every day. So just from what I've seen, like, nothing seems to be lasting more than a few days. So if you're dealing with sessions that are happening once a week, and you're staying vigilant with your cleaning and wearing a face mask and observing distancing, you should be not just relatively, but you should be considerably safe, if you're observing all of these things. Every nurse that I talk to has said to me, keep your social distancing, and keep your social distancing and keep wearing a face mask and wash your hands, on a regular basis. And we should all be able to stay safe, even with this slowly rolling out of reopening places and everything.
Yeah, I think the washing hands thing is really a massive and easy thing.
I do have to say, in January, I went to a show at Brighton Music Hall and went to the restroom and observed no fewer than 3, I'll call them boys, walk out after using the restroom and not wash their hands. Boys are gross. That's a general rule that I think works. Boys are gross. So everyone else, be careful. Wash your hands, please. So I'm
going to an event in July where everyone is actually getting tested before we get together.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Wild.
And I think that's really the big thing we're waiting for, is everyone to be able to have access to a test that will give them information quickly. Because a vaccine could come as soon as October and as late as never. So don't hold out hope for a vaccine, because there's no guarantee we're going to have one.
I mean, I think the other thing is that, our industry is more about touching lots of objects with other people.
Yeah.
So it's really hard, especially in shared studio scenarios where I'm in discussion with some other Berklee teachers about how do we handle the potential of, kids sharing the same studio. And, there's just so much stuff to wipe down between people. It's got to be kind of part of their workflow. They have to save 15 minutes at the end to wipe everything down.
Well, and it, let's be honest, it probably should have been for a long time. That way, it's just going to make it. I mean,
more of this earlier.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to make everyone safer. And, I mean, geez, we should have been cleaning this stuff a lot more vigilantly in the first place. I shouldn't be walking out of any restroom feeling like everything is gross because no one's washing their hands after they relieve themselves.
Yeah.
Like so I had a couple other things I wanted to share before you so rudely kicked me off of my screen share.
No problem. I'll put you back in. Sorry.
So
I just wanted to see your face.
Thanks. So I'm guessing a lot of you, are using things like Dropbox and WeTransfer and Google Drive and everything. So I probably don't have to go over WeTransfer if you're sharing sessions with someone. I had to do a thing with a horn player that doesn't live in the state, and just sent him the session via WeTransfer, and he sent it back. And that's one way to work. As far as sharing files and sharing mixes, if you're not doing it through streaming, there are a couple of options that I wanted to share with people. The first one is Swan. Swan is an option much like any kind of file share, except it relates directly to audio. As you can see, the Swan is a bass clef. So if we were to share audio, I could go to, any session that I have and go to mixes and, share like the first 3 songs from here, and it adds the songs, and then I put in a project title. And if I want to make a subtitle, could they be finals? Maybe. And then send the list of people to email them to, if I want to.
Send me the song that you did piano on.
Oh, I will send you that. I will do that right now. So let's do a quick little refresh. I'll sing you that whole record.
In actual use.
I'll sing you Taylor's record.
Sean and I got to be together for a few minutes on the same session, which is very rare and very fun.
Cool.
I just want to give a huge thumbs up for Swan because I use it all the time, and
it's great, right?
Amazing, yeah.
It's really great.
Is it costly?
It's free. The thing that I love about it, and I'm sure Sean is going to get into this, but I can't help myself, it's the fact that you can send just a preview without no option to download the file. So if you're sending like 100 remix 2,685, they're not going to gather 2,000 files. You just give them previews. You delete all the, it's just much better file sharing if you're just previewing it.
Yeah. So it's Dan@notable.com. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So yeah. So down here we have the option for download only, download and play, or play only. So if you are sending to clients and they haven't paid you yet, you just have a little play only. The streaming quality is, I don't know what it is, but it's a really, really good streaming quality. I mean, I'm uploading waves. So I'm not sure what they're streaming at, but I'm uploading 2448 waves. I send my files, and Dan will get an email. And he can click on the email. It'll open up a new window in his browser, and he can stream right from the browser, or he can download them. So this is really cool for me. Like before I start getting to the mix stage, I use this a lot. If I'm sharing, roughs in progress, or if I'm sending stuff to players that might be playing on the record. I really like this. But for sharing with people when I'm actually sharing mixes and full projects, I've been using FilePass. I don't know if anyone has used FilePass. There are 3 different tiered pricings for this, but it's a monthly fee. And I've actually got, you can actually bill through FilePass, and most of the time I don't, because my clients will pay me either ahead of time or they'll pay in installments. And also, just like everybody else, I don't like Stripe getting a percentage if I can avoid it. So I'll have clients, pay me through other means if they have the ability to. But if I want to go to, let me see if I can find something that's got some notes on it. So if I go into this Daisy Bones project,
there's a place to write notes about music?
So there's a place where you can actually put comments. Let's see. I got to go to one that has comments because we've had nothing but time, so I've gotten all my files updated.
On when I'm doing the Dropbox or G Drive version,
Mhm.
I've got a folder for each client. Within the folder, there is a mixes folder and then a process folder where there's usually a Word doc that has a list of everything that we have to still do. And then at the top of it is a place where I put, hours. And the nice thing about that is that sometimes they're putting in the hours, sometimes I'm putting in the hours, but we both see them. And
Mhm.
so there's less of a I'm going off to my desk later and sending you what I think the hours are. It's more like we're both looking at it and going, hey, that was what, 2.5 hours, 3 hours?
Yeah.
Especially
So
if you're going that way.
so check this out. Peep this, everybody. One of the cool things about this is, we've got, I had two people comment on this, and with this crew, it's a 3-person writing team, and Annie and the other writer live together, so it makes that process a little easier. But as far as these notes go, like, these were completed notes. I just unchecked them. But you can see if I click on a note, it actually gives me the timestamp of where the note is. So I can actually go right to where the note is and fix the spot right at the point.
You mean a timestamp in the mix?
A timestamp on the audio file on the website.
Oh, but not in Pro Tools. It doesn't take you to like.
No, it doesn't take you to Pro Tools, but I have this open in the background and I toggle between the audio for both. And, I can be like, oh, this is exactly where they're talking about. This little issue that they're having right here. Well, that's not an issue, but so, like the SH, I can actually go right to that SH and know which one it is.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty handy. And then, when you finish them, you just check them off and off you go. And the same thing here, you can prevent downloads until things are paid for. You can, you can invoice right on the spot. So if you want to, create an invoice, you can do it right there. How much has been invoiced and how much has been paid. So I really like this because it's kind of like an all-in-one thing. And a lot of times I'll invoice people here and they'll just PayPal me. Sometimes I have clients that I'll send this to, and then they'll send me an email with all the comment lists. And it's like, don't you realize, like, you can do this right there and make everybody's life so much easier? But, most of the time when I get comments, they just kind of show up right on the file, and I can get to them the next day and send it right out. Or I can, if there's one thing where I have an issue, I can get on them with Source Live and just deal with it right there on the spot.
And are they charging for this?
I'm paying like $20 a month for it. And that includes.
And they also get a cut of your invoices too, right?
Yeah, that also includes 3 terabytes of storage.
Oh, cool.
So I can keep up to 3 terabytes of mixes up there. So that's pretty great.
What is their fee for doing invoices and online?
It's through Stripe. So you just if you have a Stripe account, it just automatically goes through Stripe. So I believe that's 3%. So for smaller projects, that can be something, but if you've got a project that's like 5 figures,
Isn't it wild the way that we're able to be paid like in 50 different ways now?
Yeah.
I've had to limit how many venues that, can come at me through my phone paid, because I'll lose track of like an obscure payment going to Apple Pay instead of, Venmo or PayPal or the list.
I had someone a couple of weeks ago pay me through Facebook.
Yeah, right.
I don't like that.
Yeah, well, I
don't like Mark Zuckerberg knowing anything about me.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone who tells me that he's not the arbiter of truth to have any control over my money.
Yeah, that cat's out of the box.
Yeah. It's made me want to go on Twitter and just say all sorts of nasty things about Mark Zuckerberg.
All right. So I did want to say one quick, quirky little thing about Dropbox. I've been using Hightail for sending some of my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The old, you send it.
Yeah.
and there's a place for notes there from comments, which is nice. But my favorite feature is I can, at the end of a session, load a bunch of stuff and say, send it to so-and-so, and then I can walk out. And it is not already gone. It will keep going for me. If I do Dropbox, if it's not already loaded up to Dropbox and I hit send, it only sends what got up at that moment.
Yeah.
That drove me crazy. I would leave a session. I have to wait for everything to load up to Dropbox. And
Well,
then
doesn't Dropbox update live?
it's better now than it was. It's got
Okay.
a better synchronous system, but for a long time, Hightail was beating it hands down. But now with G Drive working and Dropbox working faster, it's not as big a deal. So, anybody else using anything that we don't know about that they like using for sharing big files?
I'm just constantly doing audio stuff through Hightail and video files through Google Drive. You know,
cool.
Just a lot easier that way.
Yeah.
What is everyone using for? Is anyone using any cloud storage for backup? Nobody.
If you don't consider Dropbox and G Drive to be cloud,
I do consider those to be. Like, I mean, I like having 2 hardware storages and 1 cloud storage. Zach here has been using Backblaze.
I don't know that.
Has been raving about it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because it updates live as you go.
And that never puts some sort of weight on your computer while session's going on?
Well, that I don't know. It's one of the reasons why I haven't used it, because my computer's old.
Well, all the more reason we should test yours.
That's exactly what I need.
Reggie, what are you doing to share all those video files?
I'm using Dropbox and Google Drive. So Google Drive is the online sort of sharing, because we're once we record something, we give it directly to whoever ran the show. And then if I have a big file that needs to go overseas or something like that, or someone that's not part of Berklee, usually I use Dropbox.
Reggie's amazing. He overviews and oversees all of the video recording of concerts, of all the concerts at Berklee, which is a crazy amount. Many a day.
Well, these days I'm doing more Pro Tools stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I am.
Glad to have you join us.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I constantly get the invites, but
I got to pick your brain because I'm in the process of setting up a DSLR camera to do more web series stuff from my place. So I need some video advice. We'll trade.
Sure thing, no problem.
So any other questions about anything we talked about, or the new Pro Tools stuff, or anything that I can, before we kind of wind things down?
I had a question about audio movers. Is that also, do they have like a subscription? Like how much money is that?
The subscription is $4 a week.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah, I think they have a monthly one too, but like, yeah, you can get it for $4 a week. So if you've got a heavy week of mixing coming up and are able to get in touch with a client that week, it's a great deal for stuff like that.
They also have a yearly one as well.
It's $100 for the year.
Yeah, $100 for a year, which is kind of a deal when you
very
sort it out.
scalable. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been very consistent, and the sound's been good. So I've been really pleased. It kind of took. I literally felt like I couldn't do work before I had it. Now I feel like I can. So it's a game changer for me. All right, Sean, you got any more thoughts about this, or you want to wind it up?
I think I've talked about all this stuff that I know how to do. I'm not that smart, so I'm just doing what we can over here.
Just got a note from one of our people saying that they do have an educational discount. I knew that Berklee had one, but if they've got a general one, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's 50%, I think.
Yeah, it was $50 instead of 100. So. Well, thank you all for joining us. We'll be doing this if we can't get together, and We love feedback. So if you guys have any positive, negative, any kind of thoughts about what's going on, please feel free to chime in. And I'm going to show you that.
Lost your audio there.
I'm going to show you that email so you can write to us if anybody wants to.
Dan, we can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear me. You there, Dan?
Hi.
Hi, we couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. So I was just saying, thank you all for coming, and thank you, Parsons, for helping support us through this. Adam and Brick, appreciate all that. And if any of you guys want to reach out to either of us about this stuff, or anybody at Parsons, feel free to use the old phone thing. We'll probably Zoom.
and we're hoping to keep doing this throughout this, you know, as we're all quarantined throughout this quarantine. So if anyone has any ideas of topics that you want us to discuss, or just anything you want to bring up, whether it regards social distant recording or not, anything that you want to talk about, we're open to suggestions for things. I'm saying we're running out of ideas and we need some help.
We'll probably do something about home studios and what to tweak. Maybe we'll do a little makeover scenario where people can show us what they've got and what things sound like, and we could talk about what to look for. Hey, Reggie, but
one idea. One of the issues that I keep coming across is people not picking a good place in their house to record their video or their audio, like background sounds. I live on a busy street, buses going by all the time. Route 1 is like nearby. What kind of things can you do? So I think that would be a good avenue to explore.
Yeah. As someone who lives in between Morrissey Boulevard and Neponset, I feel you.
Appreciate that.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great topic, like how to best take advantage of your situation where you are without having to record at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
is probably a good topic to cover. But also, like, even talking about like minimal packages of things you can do to maximize the potential of recording at home and working at home. Those are a couple things that we bounced around before. So Reggie, that's a great idea. Actually, we should probably start there.
Yeah, recording vocals at home would be a good subject in and of itself, I think. Yep. Cool. Well, thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks
for coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, Dan and Sean and everyone for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night. Hey, John, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
That's a good view. Is that the one that you usually share with clients when you're working?
Oh, this one here?
Yeah.
No, I've been gearing up for we're going to be doing streaming concerts starting on Saturday. And
cool.
So yeah, and so I just I first had this set up on the back table there for testing, and then I moved it to the side table, and so yeah, it's going to be like 4 camera things with the ability to throw in still images or other kinds of stuff.
So is that the feed from the other room right now?
Yeah, it is.
What kind of camera are you running? Are you doing stuff that you love, or you got technology? I'm just starting the camera thing.
Well, I've got one original Blackmagic Pocket cinema camera and now 3 of the 4K cameras. So
the 4K Blackmagics?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So that's what these 2 are.
Why do you like that brand or those models? What's the?
Well, just the image quality, the the color depth and stuff like that is really good. The price performance is excellent. Um, it's not like it's more like sort of like a digital cinema camera. So you still have to pay attention to your rig and whatnot. But for us, it's been worked out really good. Like I have a SSD drive mounted to each one, and so for the multicam stuff, each camera is going to be ISO recording the footage, and then
And you're capturing a stream somewhere too?
yeah, so I just bought 4 50-meter fiber optic HDMI cables, which was awesome. And, and so they're all running into the control room. And so that's how I get the inputs into the hardware switcher. And then I feed the Pro Tools audio with just this radio box into the back of the switcher. And right now we're calibrating the delay between the HDMI video and the Pro Tools output to get sync tight. And then working on graphics. So we definitely can do this still graphic thing right now, but eventually we'll be able to do like lower thirds and stuff like that as well.
So are you going to have someone who's like being the producer and sitting there switching between feeds?
Well, there's a bunch of gigs coming up, so it depends. Like on Saturday, myself and my guy Dan are going to be here, and I'm going to have him because he normally does a lot. Well, he does all my in-house video editing, so he's going to be running the switcher, selecting the shots, and I'll be making sure the audio is cool and kind of overseeing the operation.
What is the switcher?
It's brand new. It's a Blackmagic A10 Mini Pro. So it's very small. It's only about
and it's just like push button to move between. You're seeing like on one screen multiple feeds, and you're picking them and fading.
Yeah, I mean you can have different fading options as well, and old school like or not old school, but things that wipes and stuff like that too. And then there is a picture-in-picture function, which I can resize or place in different areas and stuff.
Cool.
So it's it's something that for what we're going to be doing on Saturday, it's going to be a soprano and a piano, and then a woodwind trio. Two piano trios, one with clarinet, one with violin. So that's what's going down on Saturday, and then we have From the Top is coming in later in the month, and that setup's going to be real different because then we're using wireless HDMI for the camera that's going to be walking all over the live room.
Wow.
Yeah, that was something to learn about.
Is the delay like crazy on that?
Well, I'm going to touch this device for the very first time on Thursday, and so I have to find out how long I have to delay it for. It's funny, like one of the tests I ran, I was trying to figure out the delay, but I had some like plugins that were like incurring like a big delay on Pro Tools, and they kind of balanced out like magic. But I just got, where is it?
Some reverb.
This thing, which I've got to figure out how to use.
We're still looking at your piano.
Oh, sorry. This thing, which is.
I can't see it. It just looks like a black thing with 5 things on it.
Let me. Okay. It's this thing called the Sync 1-2, and it's supposed to measure the delay between the audio and the video.
Oh.
So
like the old Russian dragon.
A little bit like that, yeah. And so it has a like a light sensor in it and a microphone. So
cool.
It'll display the time difference, and then I'll be able to try to delay the Pro Tools rig by that.
Tells you in frames or samples or.
Well, this displays in either frames or milliseconds, so might have to do some math. But
And then the radial thing is what's giving you the delay?
no, no. It's that HDMI video has an inherent delay in it.
Right. But
So
I mean, where are you putting your delay to slow down the audio to
it have to be my mix bus.
so you're literally just putting a delay plugin on there.
Yeah, the ones that Avid sort of has are calibrated in samples, and I was really hoping they'd have milliseconds or frames. That would make my life.
Change it to milliseconds. You could change mod delay 3 to milliseconds.
No, I'm not talking about mod delay. Let me. I don't have a session up. It's some other thing that they have. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. It's like offset or some.
Oh,
yeah, but it's
Sample delay
or the trim. Yeah, but I think mod delay actually does.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't know if it's
sure.
clean enough to. But
Yeah, I'll have to go no modulation. But hold on 2 seconds. I'm gonna show you like something cool thing. I'll be right back. So
Rick, I just got a new back for my Nikon, which will allow me to do web broadcasts. So I got a Z6 back, which I'm kind of psyched to play with and use for trying to make some content from here.
Big plans for the summer?
Yeah, do I, or that is the big plans for the summer? I'm going to try to learn what f-stops are for and all those things. Yeah. Reggie and I are apparently trading roles.
You're in good hands with.
No. So I thought that went pretty smoothly, by the way.
Absolutely. Really good.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah,
session,
sorry about-
guys. Great
Rick.
session.
Rick, I saw your face, so I'm sorry about the Zuckerberg comment.
I was talking to Adam before we started up today about how I think that Sean and I should view these things before you put them up, because there are going to be some content that we need to not remove necessarily. We're talking about actually kind of creating a personality with the vibe where we could do kind of an explosive bleep for mentioning certain things.
We'll give you the final edit. Don't worry.
So we'd have
that one
old
should
school.
my whole Facebook rant should just be chopped out.
So there'd be like a Batman kapow, and right when I say Busta Rhymes or whoever I'm talking about that I shouldn't be talking about in public, because that would actually
be a cloud.
Yeah, that would actually make it seem so that if you're at our events, then you're going to hear all of it. But if you watch it later, you know that we said something that we probably shouldn't have, and that it's kind of fun that we acknowledge it, but we're just not going to leave it there. But we're not going to make it seem like we didn't do it. We're going to make it into a shtick.
Flex our creative muscles and come up with something.
Yeah.
They did this with the Michael Jordan documentary.
Really?
They had an
That's a good
uncensored and a
reference.
censored version.
Nice.
It's a good reference, Sean. I'll go watch it so I can get some of my.
It's a great documentary. It was a good way to spend 10 hours that I normally would have spent watching live sports.
Hey, when I look at your new racks,
Mm-hmm.
you know what stupid thing I'm envious of?
The patch bays?
The height of the patch bays.
Oh, you have no idea. Like I had Lou come in and I stood up and let's see if I can do this. I stood up and I did this. That's as high as I want to reach. That's as low as I want to reach.
Right.
Measure it.
And you know where mine are.
Yeah. That's where, well, I've also got these racks, which is the stuff that I use more, and I'm still crouching down.
Yeah.
Because I tend to ride the input of a compressor when I'm working with a singer.
Me too.
And it's right here.
Yeah.
Which takes me out of my listening position and has the benefit of making my lower back not feel so good.
Well, all the cables on my corner racks with the compressors can roll all the way over to here.
By the way, I got rid of my API 3124
Oh, yeah.
and got the undertone.
Oh yeah, how is it?
It's a worthwhile trade. I'll tell you that much.
I'm real happy to see that Amtech in your rack, Sean. I'm glad that thing lives near me.
It it does. It's been living in Jay's storage space for years.
I knew I should have held on to that thing. Damn it.
Yeah, you should have. You know what the funny thing is? Zach is going to take the Coil CA70.
Oh, nice. That thing's awesome.
It is awesome, but I mean, I'm going to get one when I either when I can get the rack or when I can get a pair of them.
Of course you're going to get the big rack. Of course you want the more.
I do, but you know, it's pricey. I have a lot of pre's.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You have a lot of
Did
gear.
you know I got Josh Hagar's Wally Hyder pre's?
Oh yeah? Nice.
Yeah.
I remember he was trying to sell those, yeah.
Yeah, I was happy to take those off his hands.
Of course you were.
They sound great.
You know, your friend Cliff and his son replaced my Mog EQ.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. They looked at the power supply of my old like 1983 stereo one, and they were like, "You use this in stereo, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You know, there's no calibration on these old ones." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "The new ones got calibrated." I'm like, "Okay." So, and he was like, "The power supply is going to cost you like $600 or $700. You should really, we'll give you a good deal." So I upgraded to their new master.
They are the nicest people.
Yeah.
They are the nicest people.
They're very, very sweet.
I've never met someone from Utah that I didn't think was nice. And weirdly enough, I've spent a lot of time in Utah.
Huh?
And they totally fit the bill. They're just awesome. Both Cliff Senior and Junior and Ryan are all just amazing people. They deserve everybody's business.
Yeah.
And the EQs are freaking awesome.
Yeah, they are.
Just like these super wide bandwidth, awesome shaping EQs. Yep. They're just great.
But so, John, what were you going to show us?
Well, this is like a programmable motion controller for one of the cameras. It's on a slider.
Oh, dude.
Oh.
So it's going left to right on the slider, but also the camera itself is panning.
Can you make it big?
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll give you.
So I can adjust the speed and damping factors at the beginning and the end of the travel.
That's awesome.
So because of the COVID stuff, and sometimes they want us to limit crews, so all the cameras are going to be unmanned for most of these concerts. So this is a way for us to switch in one of the cameras and have a little bit of, you know, sweeping movements or whatever throughout what's going to happen.
Man, that's cool.
So.
And is it going back and forth itself right now, or you're doing it?
No, I'm here in the control room. It's a program that I left to go turn on the program. The controller, let's see.
And the camera's on a select.
It looks like that. It looks like a video game controller or something. So I could control it if I wanted to, you know, by being in the room. But
you're automating it. You're doing some pre-made moves.
Right. Yeah. So when we do the rehearsal on Saturday before the show, Dan is going to program the travel, you know, for the ensemble, and then we'll have it set in motion, and then he'll have 3 cameras that are static, and then this one to switch to when he wants to sort of do a panning move, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Pretty wild, huh?
Makes me want to do a night when we talk about robotics in recording. And we can do my robot mic on my guitar amp.
Yeah, nice.
Do your video. Nice. That's cool. So is it on a track?
Yeah. Do you know what a slider is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's you take the camera head off of the mount for the slider, and then firstly you can buy it in 2 pieces. So there's just the motor on the end of the slider that can let you just do left to right movements. But then the second part of the system, you take the fluid head off and then you put this arm looking thing on it. In fact, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just sort of like a big, like a C-shaped arm. And then the camera mounts to that and it's like, it has servos in it. But it's still really quiet, which for us with the, chamber music is necessity. I mean, if you have the speed way up, then you're going to hear it. But if you don't have the speed up too high, it's totally silent,
Wow.
So
Cool.
yeah, it's been a lot of learning in a compact amount of time, but
Looks awesome though.
But it's like I had like 60 sessions cancel.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because March and April and May were going to be real heavy ensemble things. So one client had like 15 large ensemble dates, and then I had 2 projects from Japan with orchestras that got canceled. All that, and Berklee with CW 411. That was 4 days of orchestral recording. So that all went out the window, and all my chamber music just kept getting pushed. From whatever March to April, to late April, then to May, then to June. So I've begun doing stuff. I've done solo piano, solo cello, voice and piano, that sort of thing. But then I started getting these calls to host concerts here, because that's the other thing, is that performance venues are, done for the moment. So since we already had like a pretty big investment in video, I sort of fleshed it out to get this extra stuff. And so this first concert, which is Saturday, is going to be YouTube Live, and then From the Top is going to be Facebook Live, and that's later in the month. And then we have some stuff set up for July.
Put me on the link list. I'll check it out.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll check it out.
Hey, John, I got a question for you. Your audio, your voice sounds fantastic. Can I ask what you're using?
Let's see. At the moment, I'm using, because I was switching from different things. So we're on Zoom, so I'm using the iMac Pro's microphone.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, Sean, I mean, I've had my Mac Pro Tower since whatever, a billion years, but I'm going to be finally doing the switch over sometime this summer.
Are you doing the cheese grater?
Well, originally, the cheese grater wasn't out, so I got this iMac Pro with the intention that that would be the new system. But the thing is, you can't get long Thunderbolt 3 cables, and I was hoping to, just mount this iMac's monitor to my monitor, Visa mount, and then just run. So instead, I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to put the iMac in where my patch bay is and run monitor extensions and do it that way. So, but then the switching thing came up with the live streaming. So this computer is dedicated to helping with that right now.
Okay.
And so if things continue to go like they're kind of going, I think I will get the cheese grater and rock Catalina. At least that's the tentative plan. I'd like it to be in place by the fall.
I'm on a similar timeline to you, I think. I want to try and have a new computer in here by September, if it's possible.
I was jonesing about it and thinking about it for a long time, and then I put new CPUs in and made it a 12-core, and it's been working well. So I'm not as in big a rush as I am.
Yeah.
As I was.
But I mean, it's like I constantly, with like my main computer, like run into all kinds of inconsistencies now. And it's like I have to have a laptop or this iMac Pro kicking around at all times, just because, like I couldn't set up the YouTube live stream on my old computer for some reason. Like, it won't run on Firefox, the version I got, and all that crap. So, I really I can't wait. But then my problem is Pro Control.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so the was it the Narink? I
Yep.
may have to try to run that for a while until I can do the S6 or something.
Nyrink will allow you to run the Pro Control with the newer OS.
Yeah. Do you know Paul? Well, you know Paul Hager, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Paul has Pro Control as well, and he's using that because he was on an old system for a million years too, but he's running a more modern system and using that.
Yeah, he just sold a bunch of gear too, I think, to update all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the S3's been good, but doesn't have as much power as what you've been doing.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting thing. I'm hoping that, for me anyway, the lack of large ensemble recording will be replaced by the streaming concert thing. So that's sort of the idea there.
Have you done any classical recordings where people were basically asked to be put further apart than normal?
Well, we've done all sorts of like weird configurations, but the client or the prospective client that came in for the walkthrough today wants to do like a 15-piece chamber orchestra spread all over the room.
Right.
So that's the idea.
Interesting challenge in and of itself.
It will be. But
reminds me when I was trying to do the 15 girls separated in your room all around the outside, kind of like totally not taking advantage of the room.
Yeah, and we're trying to plan like how we're going to handle choral, and the stuff out of Berlin, really scary. But at the moment, we're kicking around the ideas of having like SAT be just 4 singers, 1 for each vocal range, with the conductor with a mask on, and then they come in for like an hour, and then they split, and then we bring in the second group of SATB as an overdub.
Right.
Then we do it a third time, and then you have a 12-voice choir.
Right. And that was how we used to do a cappella records, just because they weren't tight. And so we could tell if there were 4 people who was messing up, and we could pull them out and just have 3 or whatever. And it was quicker, and that became a very big kind of college push to do it at home instead of go to studios.
Yeah.
We don't do any of the collegiate a cappella stuff. Yeah, we haven't now for a while.
Yeah. Even my place was too big for that. They wanted to be 1 mic at home, 1 person at a time for a lot of it.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But
things move on.
Yep. But yeah, your video stuff looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
I'd been telling Rick last week, it's like right like in February I recorded an orchestra for this documentary film, so very fortunately I had like editing for like 58 cues and mixing for 58 cues to do.
Wow.
Which definitely helped fill in the gaps from the canceled sessions and so but it's gonna be a wild ride for the summer for everyone, I think.
I've been backlogged with mixing duties on a bunch of things, so this is helpful to me.
Yeah.
Catching up.
I'm in the it was only about 3 weeks ago that I finished stuff that I'd already been paid for. So that actually worked out.
Yeah.
I was overwhelmed, and now I'm properly whelmed. But I think John's onto something, because the thing that worries me on my end is most of my clients earn their money from shows.
Right.
Either from tours or just playing locally.
Yeah.
And some play regularly pre-COVID 6 to 8 times a week. So, the schedules for them have been, they come into the studio from 10 to 6 and then head out to a gig, or 11 to 7 and head out to a gig. for the local ones. And if they don't have income from shows, they're not going to be able to do a record.
Sure.
So I have no idea what's going to happen on that end. On the other end, I've had a couple of clients that are just waiting for the restrictions to be loosened enough to start coming in to do overdubs on records they already started tracking.
Yeah.
So if that ever happens, that'll be nice. But I'm a little concerned about what's going to happen in the fall. I just heard LA is not going to open for any large gatherings before 2021.
Yeah, Jordan
So-
Hall announced that. So that was
Mhm.
one hall. I think there's a lot of venues that are going to be in that boat.
Yeah, I honestly think the larger venues are gonna hold off longer than the smaller ones for obvious reasons. The variables are just too great. But knowing that, like, the LA Chargers just built a new stadium that is going to be empty for the first season. Not that it wouldn't be anyway. That's a joke, everybody. But all the basketball and I don't think baseball is coming back, which is kind of a big effect on things. I know all the summer festivals are shut down. Some are trying to postpone to September, October, but they're not. I don't think they're gonna even be there in September and October.
But the weird thing to me, right, is that if the NHL, NBA, and NFL do have their seasons, albeit with nobody in the audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the NFL, like how can you possibly have the players not be totally contacting the other players? Like they could be all over them. They're not going to
You say that, but there's probably more actual body-to-body contact in the NBA because they're in
and that too,
and they're wearing less. But the NBA is putting everyone in a bubble. They're putting everybody in Disney World, and they're testing everyone for 3 weeks before they play.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're kind of doing it the way Bundesliga's done it, German soccer. The way German soccer is reopened is a model for sports franchises. They're having certain numbers of players get dressed at the same time, but not everybody. They're limiting contact for everyone within closer quarters. They're still coming in contact, but they're being tested 3 days before and 3 days after every match. And the stadiums are empty. And they're pumping in crowd noise, which is surreal. Like, I've watched matches and they're just surreal.
What's funny is baseball is automatically kind of spaced. All the players are kind of far apart.
Yeah, but they're having problems because the players and the owners can't figure out how much to pay the players because they're dumb. Baseball, as usual, being the most out of touch of all the sports that we have. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, British Premier League is coming back a week from tomorrow.
Yeah, I would think tennis would be pretty easy.
You would think tennis would be easy, and golf,
like
singular sports.
I mean, they've done MMA, right? So,
yeah, they've done MMA.
Well, they want to kill each other anyway.
Well, they've talked
this
about.
This adds another aspect of
they
how
they have bounced fighters right before matches.
I don't know if anyone's seen, but like Dana White wants to do an island and call it Fight Island. John Oliver did a great bit on this, and I forget what he ended up calling it. It was brilliant, but Fight Island, a little too on the nose.
Excuse me, guys, I got to jump, but I really appreciate what you all brought to the event tonight, and hopefully we can do it again, and hope everybody stays well and safe. And
thank you, Rick.
Thank you so much, Rick.
And
Rick, it's great seeing you.
I'm assuming you're eating all the pizza yourself, Rick.
Somebody made a comment about that earlier. Well, at least you're saving money on pizza. I would gladly make that trade. I miss seeing everybody in person. That was really fun the last time we got together.
That was a blast.
Yeah,
that was a good topic.
And
good turnout.
Who knew that the world was going to end then? We had no idea.
We got it in just under the wire.
Yeah.
All right, take care, everybody.
Hope we can do it again in person soon, Rick.
Same here.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Rick. Yeah, I got to go eat my dinner with my family.
All right, guys. Very successful event. Thanks again.
Our pleasure.
Dan, whenever you
And I'll send you the file.
Yeah, send me the file and any comments on what to edit.
I don't know what sharing mechanism I'm going to use.
We'll figure it out. I think a technology exists. I don't know.
This was
Anyway.
a blast, though.
Yeah, let's do
It really
more.
was.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, John. Thanks for coming.
My pleasure. By the way, Dan, I sent you a different swan. I sent you the masters of what I had sent you before.
Okay, great.
So that'll be a better listen. You won't
Yeah,
get a listen like
How many songs had the piano on? I can't remember.
just the one.
Just one? Okay.
Just the one. But it's piano with a quartet and a vocal. So
Nice.